Blech. Look, Day of the Dead is brilliant. And yes, it's got these moments of extreme gore. It has overtures of Frankenstein. It's like George Romero's done zombies twice now. He gave us one of the greatest films, in my opinion, my favorite film of all time. One of my favorite films of all time, the original Night of the Living Dead. He gave us this masterpiece of a film, and I can't even talk about because I'll just never stop talking about it. And then he's like, "How can I do this different a second time? What if it's a mall? What if they're trapped in a mall and then people lay siege to the mall?" And always trying to find a way to weave social commentary and these big ideas into what are essentially B-movie concepts. And then it's like, how does he do it? How do I do it a third time? Well, this time I'm going to weave in overtures of Frankenstein and Frankenstein's monster between Dr. Logan Frankenstein and Bub, and more importantly, scientists and the industrial military complex. And you have these two competing groups in an underground bunker trying who can't work together. They are the last bastion of civilization, where zombies outnumber humans 400,000 to 1 at this point by Dr. Logan's calculations. And they can't make contact with Washington anymore, and they're running out of supplies. And it's such a bleak, grim situation. And then you have, in my opinion, one of George Romero's finest scenes, and it doesn't involve a single zombie. And it is the scene where they're in the giant mess hall, and the scientists are eating with the military guys. Captain Rhodes, played by Joseph Pilato is his name. Pilato, whatever.
I'd have to look that up.
He's also briefly in Dawn of the Dead, and was the original Seth Gecko in From Dusk Till Dawn when it was still going to be a Robert Kurtzman vehicle before Quentin Tarantino took it over. And basically you have this standoff between Sarah, who's a scientist, and Captain Rhodes. And he basically tells her that if she doesn't sit down, he's going to shoot her where she stands. And there is so much weaved into that scene, so many layers of onion that are there. And it's so scathingly contemporary to what's happening now. George Romero was a revolutionary genius, man. He was way ahead of his time. If this came out today, surfing on the hype of The Walking Dead, people would be mind melted over the brilliance of Day of the Dead. And I'll turn it over to Bob.
I mean, you said everything, but I mean, when it comes down to it, like, if somebody asked me, let's say somebody came to me and like, "Bob, you like movies, right?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm one of those guys. Tell me like the bleakest movies you can think about that I could watch." It's funny that we talked about the two top ones in my head in this list of ours, because I would easily say Day of the Dead and Alien 3. And Day of the Dead, there's something about Day of the Dead that feels literally depressing in a way that is artistic. Like, it is so sad.
It's the end of human. It's the end of humanity. It's the end of humanity.
It's the slow death,
right,
of humankind, and the waiting it out to watch it die.
And they don't know. They don't know that they're the end.
It's the equivalent of watching someone you love die in a hospital bed slowly over a week. It's like, it's excruciating at every level, but it's also like weirdly beautiful. You know what I mean? Like, watch, and you know what I'm saying, right? Like, I'm not saying death.
Well,
is
the monologue,
but like watching the end of someone's life, like it's dark, but there's something like, from a aerial perspective, beautiful about how we come, we are, and we leave. You know what I mean? And like, Day of the Dead is such an end cap to that trilogy. And it's such a meditation on death, of not just the deaths that happen in the movie, but the death of us. And I don't know.
Humans are literally underground at this point. Like,
yeah,
metaphorically speaking, we're now
couldn't
buried.
Push us down anymore.
Yeah,
we're metaphorically buried. And actually physically push us down. Like
we're living in a grave already, and
we're already buried. It's done.
Right, and we're already dead, and we just don't know it yet.
We're suffocating to death. Yeah.
And I mean, there's one woman and how many men? There's not enough, but you can't literally, they don't know if there's anybody else alive. You can't restart the human race. It's the end game. And the other thing too is there's this sort of like happy sort of like epilogue of them on the sandy beach on the island, and they're just like starting it. She started a new calendar, but in a way it's kind of almost like it's like here's human beings relegated back to nature, like their place. It's like it's kind of like the end cap to what's his fucking name in the movie, the Jamaican guy, but I forget his name in the movie. It kills me. Says, Rhodes, you can't do it, Rhodes. I won't fly.
Yeah,
You can't
I'm
make
bad
me
with
fly,
names,
Rhodes. I forget his name in the John. I think it's John, and he's the helicopter pilot. And he has this whole monologue about trying to figure out like why this happened, and they're talking about like all the stuff that they're buried with down in the limestone cave. And then like it's interesting how like they escape and they wind up on this island, but like they're relegated back to their place in the natural world. We're just like people on an island just enjoying like the earth, and that's it.
Well, it's like it's back to primitive, right? Back to primal times, right?
Essentially, and it just what's his face runs out. The Irish dude, he runs out of his booze, and they're just fishing on the beach, and that's it. That's the last glimpse of humanity enjoying the sunset on the Day of the Dead. Boom.
And let's also be clear too. A lot of these movies, this fits in with the scheme of which we've talked about, which upon release, not the most popular movie.
Yeah.
Not the most beloved movie. But I feel like
hit.
Dawn will always be the crown jewel for popularity and everything, as it should be. But I feel like
what about Night though? I feel like Night is its own animal,
I mean, I love Night too, but I feel like in the passing years, especially the last 20, that Day has become Day's the cool one to like. Or the cool one to love. I feel like I see so much more Day and Bub and stuff when it comes to horror fans and everything. I see so much more love for it. And I wonder if that's just the time passing and people realizing it's a great movie, or the fact that in many ways Day feels more relevant to how we feel in the world now than the other two movies do.
Right. Dawn leaves us with hope.
There's hope in Dawn, right?
There's hope at the end.
It's a dark movie, but there is hope.
Night is probably the bleakest of them all for so many reasons. I mean,
I guess Night, I agree with you, but also like the fact that I know where it goes makes, by the makeshift fact that I know of the franchise, there's hope even then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not the fault of the movie, it's the fault of George Romero continuing the story. So it's not that, but Day is where it feels like
the end.
Day feels like
race.
I watched
like, that's it.
I ever since 2020, I've maybe watched Day twice a year.
Oh wow!
So like
you've seen it a lot.
Yeah, man. I mean, like sometimes it's just putting it on the background,
right?
But I'll watch it again this year too. It's just that kind of movie, and I tell you, it's like in a weird way in 2020 when my hope level was at its lowest. There was something strangely comforting watching something that was even bleaker than I was thinking. Like that. I think I rewatched Alien 3 too, to be honest with you. So like, I don't know. I don't know what that says about.
I mean, no, I think
movies themselves, but
I mean, it's like it's movies that it's the reverse of what an uplifting threequel does. It's like, oh, this is so bleak that my life or life in general is not that bleak because this is just way worse. You turn off that movie and you're like, holy shit, things are not so
there's
so
still
bad.
hope on Earth now,
right?
Where I am,
right?
What's
up, Ben? How are
is
you?
saying it's the best of the series. There's part of me that totally agrees with that statement.
George Romero would probably agree with Ben and
I think
say
so.
that it's the best of the series.
I think Dawn is the most culturally affecting, easily. Sure. I don't think that can be argued.
But Night, I have so much love. I mean, Night, my heart is in Night because of just.
I've told you that my sacrilege is, I actually prefer the remake of Night. So
It's not sacrilegious because, first of all, George
Romero
wrote
was,
Night.
yeah, he was involved in it and stuff. So
Savini directed. It's family. That movie is family. So
they
it's
literally
okay.
remade it to make money off of his story that he didn't the first time.
Right. And
Right,
and,
yeah.
and he went back and revised it. He didn't, he could have just done a shot for shot remake and it would have been kind of lame. But George, being George, is like, how could I do this differently than I did before? And he like found a way to do it. I'm like, God damn it, I love you, George.
Yeah.
For that.
I love the original, the black and white. It's beautiful. It is classic. It is bleak. But my favorite zombie movie ever, it might be that remake. And that's weird, I know. But regardless, I think Day, it's easily arguable that Day is the best movie out of all of them.
It
really is.
There's I could sit. I mean, if you want to be like a good director, or if you want to like go to directing school, I say that in quotes.
Right.
If you want to like learn how to if you want to watch a master, like just like go to town, watch that scene. No zombies, no gore, no anything. Just actors in a room with conflict, and just watch them go to town. And it's a very long scene. And the best part, by the way, the tension rises.
Got the best performances. I think in the trilogy, in my opinion,
I would agree with that, acting wise, for sure.
Yeah.
And the tension rises, and then who diffuses the tension? The scene keeps going. Just when you think it's going to break, Dr. Logan enters the room, and then he diffuses everything. And you see how they've been carrying on, where Rhodes builds up and becomes so hot-headed, and then Logan knows how to play Rhodes like a fiddle until he finds out what Logan's been doing behind his back, and that changes everything.
I'm laughing because I'm thinking about all this enormous amount of praise we're pouring on this movie, and I'm like, and it was my fucking number one, and now my list is completely done.
I'm curious to know, Ben says, admittedly, Night and Dawn had story issues. They were fixed in Day and Night remake. I want to hear, Ben, I'm curious to hear what you think the story issues were in Night.
I never saw the Day remake, but I didn't hear anything good about the Day
remake.
The
Day of the Dead remake? I don't
think I ever heard anything good about that.
Very bad. I don't know. I honestly don't know what Ben's talking about there, but
sure he doesn't mean the Dawn remake, which I don't even consider part of that. I enjoy
the Dawn remake is not family, but I do love that Dawn remake.
It's a fun movie. It's just not. It's not Romero,
right?
In any,
of course.